Let me just hit the record button. So welcome. My name is Tracy Hansen. I am with the Washington Center for Women in Business, and this is Let's Talk Business. Today's topic is how to get the most out of your website, and we'll be hearing from Jason from Ascent, who will be introducing himself and then actually telling us about today's content. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. This is being recorded, so if you want to listen to it again for whatever reason, I'll be emailing it out this afternoon. Since it is being recorded, please mute yourself in between asking questions. We do want this to be interactive. There's two ways to ask questions. You can either type in the chat box here, or you can raise your hand, and that will let Jason or I know that you want to verbally ask a question. But in between that time, if you can mute yourself so we don't have static and dogs barking and that kind of stuff in the background. If you're having trouble hearing me or Jason for any reason, I highly recommend the phone audio over computer audio. You just click on the audio pane and select phone call. If you're using your computer speakers, though, and there are no problems, there's no reason to make the switch. So a little bit about me and what the Washington Center for Women in Business is. We are funded in part by the U.S. Small Business Administration to be a women's business center and to provide technical assistance to women in just some of the areas that are listed on your screen there. We really talk about, does somebody have a question? We really want to help you discover what the hurdles are in business, to help you bridge any skill gaps.
Audio pin followed by the pound or hash sign. If you do.
Okay, and we do this through one-on-one business coaching sessions, through workshops and seminars, kind of like this one, whether it's online or in person. And we do, since we are located in Lacey, Washington, but we cover the whole state of Washington, we can do this via phone, email, Skype, or obviously in person if you come to our Lacey office. To meet with us for the first time, it is free for that hour session. After that, it's $25 for an hour, but we do have scholarships available. Just let me know and I can get you a scholarship application. There's my contact information on your screen. So our business coach is Christine Buckley, and we have a new business coach, Cheryl Selby, who actually goes to rural Thurston County so that people don't have to come into Lacey, Washington. Or you can also contact our office coordinator, Ryan, to schedule appointments with Christine or Cheryl. And then last thing before I hand it over to you, Jason, our upcoming webinars. Next week we'll talk about Intro to Business Startup. We'll be talking about some other online business tools, Washington State's Family Medical and Medical Leave Program, and then every month is the Intro to Startup there. But with that, I'm going to make Jason our presenter. There we go. We can still see we can see your entire presentation, Jason, not just the one slide. And you'll need to do you have two what are they called? Monitors. That's what I was looking for.
I'm not missing anything yet. Nothing yet.
Hello? Hey, Jason, are you with us? 1 second, guys. I'm going to try to connect with him. Hold on. Hey guys, sorry about this. Jason's going to log off and log back on for us. I heard him when we first logged in here. I don't know what the speaker issue is, so we'll just give him a second here. Let's see. If there are any questions about the Women's Business Center, about your business that you wanted to ask, or that you maybe things you were hoping Jason could cover in today's workshops or in today's webinar, then you can type them in or ask them, and we can make sure that they're covered. I did want to say, I know we have a mix of men and women on today. While we are a women's business center, probably 20% of our clients are male businesses. So even if you, after listening today, if you wanted to work with us and you're not a woman-owned business, that's okay. Hey, Jason,
Hi.
I see you're back.
Hi, Tracy. Can you hear me now?
Hey, yeah, I can. That was weird.
that's
Okay, I'm
so
gonna
weird.
make you the
I'm sorry
presenter
about that.
again.
All right. So I got a prompt to show my screen. Oh. All right. All right. So I'm going to start the slideshow, and you can still hear me good, Tracy?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So my name's Jason. I'm with Nelson. I'm with Ascent Internet Marketing. And so today I just thought I'd talk about, as a web developer for about a decade now, some things that I think would help people get more out of their website, get more value, and kind of create, help grow their business through a more profitable website. So I thought I'd start with a little bit about me first. And see if I can get the next slide. But again, like I said, I've been doing this for about 10 years. It started as a hobby and it became a business about 5 years ago. Something I just enjoyed doing, enjoyed creating, and enjoyed kind of, being able to monetize traffic from the web. So that's what I became passionate about and got interested in, and just kind of evolved from there. I originally got into this with more of an SEO background, and let's see. Tracy, can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, we can see the screen that shows the entire presentation, so we can see the one in the middle and then the stuff
The
on the
little
left
thumbs
there.
on the
Yeah.
side. Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm not, it's kind of frozen up on me. So what I'm going to do is just quickly get out of it. But I can, so just to kind of talk a little bit more about what I do now, and I'll try to multitask here, is we do web development projects, so everything from small business websites, everything from real estate agents to local service businesses, to doctors, to artists, to local retail businesses. We've really done all of them, or quite a few. Don't really have a specific niche, but have a lot of experience in different areas. So that includes things like e-commerce, things like building out membership websites, all things like that. So those are all things that we can help people with, and I have experience with. So I've kind of seen the gamut in terms of building everything from a blog to a full membership website with e-commerce. So kind of the full range of products. I'm just going to restart one program because I'm having trouble with this freezing up. But yeah, at least that gives you an idea of kind of what my background is and kind of where my experience lies. And so just to go over what we're going to be talking about today, there was kind of a main focus was obviously how to really get better results from your website, and the types of things you want to focus on. So everything from how to construct your website, SEO factors to consider, how to balance things like the type of content you want to use, and really what you want to get out of your website and how to get more out of it. So those are the things mainly wanted to cover, and then we'll have I'll go through some different examples, and have some kind of general questions that I think would be helpful to answer. And then at the end, we'll also provide time for questions from you guys as well. So want this to be a dialogue and help you guys get more out of your website. So I'm going to go ahead and reload this program really quick here. Let's see here. So I will drag this over. Tracy, does that look good now?
Yeah, it's that same view with the thumbnails on the left.
So I am going to just change the view here really quick. So first I thought I'd talk about and I'll move this over. There we go. So it's the way my program works, it's going to show the primary slide and then a preview of the next slide. And you can see that okay, Tracy?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay, so again, also in addition to web development, we also do Google Ads. We also have a lot of experience in SEO. And then one thing I've been working on a lot this year and have really been working hard on is developing full marketing systems and using marketing automation to do that. So that's another component of what we do, because really what we want is kind of that complete cycle of everything from attracting a lead to capturing the lead to having that return path for customers. So that's really what I've been focusing more on, and obviously a website is a critical component of that. So again, the types of projects we do, I've worked with nonprofits, with dentists, with interior designers, you name it, we've probably worked on it. I enjoy working with different types of clients. I find it really fun. Some people focus on one niche, but which has its benefits, but it's also fun to work with different types of businesses. So just to review, this was kind of my preview of what we were going to cover today, which I already talked about, but I'll go ahead and show that. So the 3 M's of marketing. We're not talking about M&Ms or anything like that, but really we're talking about the medium first. So you need a medium to reach people. Obviously today we're focusing on websites, which is a very powerful medium. It's probably one of your most most valuable to your business in terms of it being available 24/7, all from the palm of a person's hand. And really having a website isn't relatively speaking, isn't a huge expense. It's not like it's something that's always there for people, always a resource. Even if you're doing other marketing, other advertising events, you always want to have a nice website to send people to. So then from there, we need a message, and that should show up here in a moment. But the message is the copy, which is really becoming increasingly important, is really having really good copy on your website that helps prompt people to take an action. That's one thing I've been working on more, is really developing that kind of what is going to get people to take that action, kind of that nice hook, having it be kind of subtle selling without being too blatant, or not having it be too much about me, because really what your goal is to want to help people solve their problems. Let's see here if I can get. So then the last thing here is the magnet. So medium, message, magnet. So the magnet is that hook, kind of like what I talked about, is what on your website can you have that's gonna help attract people, and then help them, take an action to contact your business. So we're going to get into some examples of that here in a moment. So in terms of how we can apply this to, websites today, here we are in late 2018, almost 2019, is where I would start is your website is obviously an important foundational tool. So it's that place where people go to find information about you. So it is definitely important, and you want to gain clarity on how you want to use it, kind of have that high level view of what's our overall marketing strategy, what do we want to promote, how do we want to convey it, and how do we want to capture these leads and use it for our business. So one of the things that I recommend, the reason I recommend having a more strategic approach is that I think there's a stat, obviously over probably 90% of the people that come to your website probably may not use you. They may not be ready. They may have just found you through a friend, but they're shopping around. Maybe they're in the early stages, but most people that come to your website aren't going to call you and use your business right away on their first visit. So that's why it's so critical to have these other systems in place and other components, so that you're not just losing that traffic and having this type of problem as you see in the slide. The other thing you want to avoid is with having a system is bringing order to things, so that when you get these leads, they go to the right place. They're tagged, segmented. You have a process for it, and they're not just kind of emails floating around or calls on a sticky note or other things that aren't as efficient or aren't going to lead, or going to can lead to more lost business because you don't have that process in place to really capitalize it. So that's kind of what I was talking about here, is really avoiding these weak points in your process. So in terms of the must-haves for a website, so it starts with, you need two things for a website to work. Two critical pieces. You need a domain name, so that's pretty easy to do. You can just go on to, and I'm sure you all probably have one, but just for people that just so you guys know, you have to reserve a domain name. You can do that on many places online. That usually costs about $15 a year. Some bigger companies are like GoDaddy, Domain.com, Register.com, places like that, where you just reserve your domain name. And that way you have the name that you're choosing. That's important because that's what you're going to be promoting out there as your website. Usually ties into your email, so that's really critical, and really low cost. The next thing you need is a host. So you need a server that keeps the website up and running 24/7. So that is, you can do that through one of those large companies like I talked about before, or use a more local provider like we provide hosting services. Some things I would recommend is to avoid really low cost hosting, because you do kind of get what you pay for. Some are better than others, but what you don't want is your business lumped in with a bunch of bad websites or spammy websites where you're kind of lumped in with them, and you could get blacklisted because you're in kind of a bad neighborhood. So that's one thing I would recommend is invest in hosting that has, where you have dedicated resources, where you have good performance and speed. Because the other thing is You don't want your website to be loading quickly or slowly. Or have, where people are waiting for your site, because that's where you're going to lose business. The other critical factor, obviously, with today is that any website should be mobile friendly. And all the websites we build, pretty much anyone that builds websites today, unless there's some specific purpose, is the website's going to work great on any device. And it's all going to be one website. So it's not like you have a separate mobile website and a separate desktop website. The next thing I would definitely recommend is a security certificate. And towards the end, I'll jump out of this slide and show you guys some examples of different things. I don't want to jump around in too many different programs right now. So I want to just we'll get to that here in a bit, but a security certificate is what keeps your website more secure. Some other features I would recommend for security, because you want to protect your investment, is having it monitored. So your website, if it's down, you're notified of that, or the person that's handling it is notified of that. And then also if there's any type of malware or injection, that is detected and taken care of quickly, because you don't want your website hacked or compromised. I know there's quite a few horror stories out there of businesses actually losing their website or having their website taken over by somebody else, and it can be quite the mess. So when building a website, there are a variety of options. There's a variety of platforms to choose from. The most basic, every website uses programming or a code, which is HTML and CSS. It's just a formatting language, which is how visuals are displayed on the web. When I first started building websites, I just built them in HTML. Then I progressed to building a PHP website, which is the foundation of a lot of these other programs, like website builder programs. That's the programming they use for the website. So moving on to website builders, building a website is getting increasingly easier, especially if you just want some type of template or something simple to get your business started. I would only recommend that if you're really on a shoestring budget and just want to have something for your business before you invest in something more specific, more customized, more targeted to your customers. But there are a number of website builder programs out there that can work for depending on where your business is at. So those would be things like GoDaddy Site Builder. I believe Google has a Site Builder. Squarespace. There's other builder programs out there where you can just kind of be up and running quickly, but it may not be obviously exactly what you want, because you may have limitations in terms of how you can customize it or what you can do with it. Where I typically work is in WordPress websites, so we can do full custom websites that are easy for people to use. That's typically what I recommend for most small businesses. You can even add e-commerce to WordPress. You can add membership features. Really, you can hook into just about anything with it, and that's one of the things that one of the reasons why it's so big and so popular, and that's why I recommend it, is because you're not limited by the platform. There's really a lot you can do. It's really flexible, really expandable. There are other platforms out there like Shopify for e-commerce that are specific. If you have a specific need for a membership, like a e-commerce website, if you're doing like a video focused website, there are other platforms out there. Online learning, there's different options for that, but those are some of the more popular ones and the things that I recommend. So another critical component is having really great content on your website. I describe what I do as a website designer as really I'm like a builder. I take your raw materials and my job is to make them look good and convey the message that you want it to convey. That's kind of how I explain it to people. So that's why it's really critical that we have those really nice building blocks to help people with. So the types of content that a website needs, or the types of content you're going to find on a website, obviously the written copy, the text on the website, the images. So that's why I definitely recommend getting professional pictures, having really nice imagery, even virtual tours depending on your business, because that's how people are going to connect and visualize your business and help them choose you. So definitely really important with images, video, graphics. If you're doing something with podcast or audio clips, those are another form of content as well. Also, even presentations, if that's a good fit for your business. So the types of content that you do need on your website that for most businesses would be things like specific content on your services, having really good customer reviews, testimonials. You can either get those individually from clients or also just grab them from Google or Facebook and choose your best ones and put them on your website. The next thing would be, I think it's really helpful to have really good case studies depending on your business. So really showing people how you help people, how you connect, how you can help them connect with your business and what you do and the results you can provide for people. Other forms of content are obviously frequently asked questions. That can be a really good resource to have. Also about you. You can make it about you, but really it's about how you can help your customers is where I would put the focus on. Also things like social proof. There's a lot of choices out there, and people obviously on the web, they don't always know what they're getting. So it's really good to have things like have your social links, have any awards you've won, any memberships you belong to that are relevant. If you've been in the news, things like that, things that kind of showcase that you're reputable, that you're a good choice for people to get in contact with. And use that contact page. The last thing there I just have is kind of a privacy policy. So it's a good idea, especially if you're capturing leads, kind of what your policies are. So just that information is out there for people, and you're not you want to be forthcoming in your disclosures in terms of what you're doing when people visit your website. So one of the things that I have struggled with over the years, and it's changed a little bit, is in creating a website, what is your focus? Is it Google, which is the SEO, search engine optimization, or is it for your prospects or people visiting your site? So, and I'll pull up some examples later, but my approach has changed a bit over the years. And I apologize, this slide is a little cut off, but I focus more on, I would generally recommend focusing more on what is the best experience for the visitors to your website. Obviously, you want to have content, you want to have information that people can find and is searchable in Google and other places online, but really it's what's going to connect with people when they come to your website. Because after all, in terms of the most valuable asset in your business, it's going to be your customers. So that's why I would definitely recommend focusing on that, is how can you make a customer-focused, customer-centric website so that they're going to take an action with your business. And that's why also when I start working with people is, and again, I apologize, it's kind of cut off at the top, is start with the logo. If you don't like your logo, get a new logo. I don't do logos actually just because I don't do printing, because usually people that do logos do things like, helping people get their business cards printed, or helping people with other promotional type items, flyers, things like that. I don't focus on that as much. I focus more on the digital side, on web development, landing pages, things like that. But I often can refer out to local designers or people I know that focus on the branding side of it, focus on logos, because really your website is gonna be influenced by your logo and the flow and how it communicates. So that's why I recommend before a redesign is, are you happy with your logo? Is it what you want to convey? So that's a good starting point to address if depending on where you're at. And so I'll just skip ahead here. So in terms of SEO, the SEO you do need in terms of things that Google's looking for would be things like relevant targeted copy. So I recommend a page on each of the core services for what you provide. So if you provide, 3 specific focused services, I would recommend separate pages on each of those services, just because in that way, people searching for one thing aren't going to get lumped in with a page with a bunch of other stuff. So having really targeted content can help Google and help people find you and connect with you, and how you can help them solve that problem they're looking to solve. Another thing you need to focus on for SEO is your speed and performance of your website, because whether it's Google or someone visiting your site, they don't want someone to come to your site and have to wait for things to load for a long time. So that is actually an SEO factor, a Google factor you may not think of, but it is important. The last thing I was going to talk about in terms of what's important for SEO is your titles and descriptions. So things like your, what people see in Google when they search you. That's why that's on the list here. So if we get back to focusing on the website, one of the critical things is really having good, obviously good calls to action. And I've got some more pictures coming up here. I'm a little bit, I was going to fill these in, but so you want to be able to capture leads. That's kind of the goal of your website, right? So obviously you can get people to encourage people to call if you're a service business or doing consults. That's definitely important. But I definitely recommend having lead magnets on a website. So what that would be how can you entice people to come to your website and get in contact with you? So whether it's downloading a resource you're providing, like a free guide, or if you're a real estate agent, how to sell your home. That way you can capture these leads and really have a process for them. So they're not just coming to your site, checking it out and leaving. You're able to capture their information and then follow up with them or provide additional resources and content to them so that when down the road they're more ready to take an action, they're much more likely to choose you. Because really the goal is to not be a choice, but the choice. So some other things, obviously, if you're more phone focused, would be to obviously welcome people to call you for a free estimate, call to schedule a free consultation, or have that optional online, or promote your service through like quick service if you're doing like local home services, things like that. So another thing I do increasingly recommend, another way to capture leads is having a live chat feature, and we'll look at an example here in a little bit. So again, the main thing is having a strategy, having a game plan for how we want to use our website and kind of these critical pieces we need, and capture and enhance the customer experience and also capture more leads. So one thing I recommend for all people is to have a CRM system. So that stands for Customer Relationship Management. So what it really helps you with is one of these things with marketing. If you just say you do marketing, that can be a lot of different things. And it can be a lot of disparate things that aren't connected. So you may do email marketing, and you may have phone calls coming in, and you may have spreadsheets, and you have your website doing things, and you have calendared appointments, depending on your business. But are they all talking to each other? Or are all these things connected? So that's why I really recommend having a system that can tie all this together so you don't get this kind of tangled maze of different systems that don't talk to each other. So I'm gonna actually jump out of this and look at some examples. So if I can get out of this. So I'm gonna pull up some kind of things I talked about in the presentation. So and we'll kind of work backwards here a little bit. So this is an example. This is our website, and you can see I have live chat over here on the left. I kind of brought it up. So I'm actually offline right now because I don't want to be doing chat while I'm doing a webinar. And there are a variety of chat programs out there, but you can see here that if someone wants to get in contact with me, I do have that option here. And so if they do want to say, yes, I'd like to talk to you more about this, their information is going to be sent into my CRM system I use. The CRM system I use is called Infusionsoft. It's a marketing automation program with CRM, which I may come back at another time, hopefully, if I'm invited, to talk more about automation systems and kind of how those things work. But the main thing is that I'm capturing that information and I'm able to act on it and help nurture those leads. Some other things we were talking about on the website would be security monitoring. So this is something we offer where if you look down here in the bottom right corner, where the website is being monitored in real time for any malware or intrusions, and it's going to send me an alert if there's any issues. So that way we're being proactive rather than reactive. And the other thing I talked about is the security certificate. How you can tell if a website has a certificate is that padlock you see up there. It may vary in appearance based on the browser you're in, but in Chrome it is a padlock. It looks like that. So when you have that clean padlock, your website has an added layer of protection, added layer of security. Google likes this quite a bit. There are actually websites that don't have this are starting to say not secure. So that's something if you're seeing or you want to avoid is something you want to get fixed. And how you fix that is by adding a security certificate. There is a process involved with that. So I would recommend reaching out to someone that does web development or works on hosting, which are services I provide, but there are others that can help you get that up to date, because it is an important feature for a website. Because last thing you want is people coming to your website and getting some type of not secure warning. What that added layer does is if people are submitting on like my contact form or things like that, the information being sent has extra protection, so it can't be grabbed while it's being transmitted, things like that. We were talking about websites that don't focus on SEO as much. Obviously, SEO is still important, but depending on your business, you may be more visually oriented. This is a recent website we did for a local realtor where obviously he wants SEO, but he's more concerned about the experience, the visuals, and the features on the website. So having really nice photography, having the messaging that you want that's going to help capture people, these different features, as I scroll down here, are all important to him. So you just have to think about what's important for your business and what's going to help your customers or prospects connect with you better. One other thing I was talking about earlier was what is SEO? So Google has changed over the years. So when I pull up a search, just kind of a random search, as you can see here, and Tracy, you can see that okay, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just want to make sure everything's good. So yeah, so at first, all I see is ads actually in Google. So I don't know if you can see in the fine print there, but there's this little green text that says ad. I actually have to scroll down quite a ways until I get to kind of the normal SEO results. They got their YouTube videos, and then actually in that first result, they were able to kind of parse out information. So it's all the way down here. It really varies based on the search you're making. So down here is where you have the organic natural results, where presumably these people, they haven't paid to get these spots. It's based on how Google rated their website based on their different ranking factors. So yeah, SEO is important, but and there's different ways to approach it. Obviously, if you're a local business, you may appear on the map. There are different ways to get in Google, but at least to kind of understand the different ways to get in, there's the ads, there's YouTube, and then there's the map, and then there's these natural results too. And you can see even at the bottom here, there's more ads. So I'll jump back here into my presentation and just kind of go over a few questions that you may have, and then we can jump into some questions that you have. I'm not going to worry about jumping into my slideshow program because it's just a few slides here. So one question I get sometimes, and I was actually just working on the other day on a project, is do I need a blog? And so a blog is that content you provide to people to help them. You can use it different ways, but it's kind of like a news feed or events feed or information, tips, articles. We have a blog on our website just because I like to be able to promote services we offer, provide actionable advice, tips, things like that. So if people are searching for that, or we want that resource, we have it there for them. So it's more of obviously most people, when they come to my blog, most of them aren't saying, I need a website right now, but it's more for that lead capture, for that information. And obviously we can use this content for other things we're doing as well. If we're doing like email marketing or putting together a new brochure, a new flyer, there's other uses for this content, maybe even this presentation. So that's, but some people don't need to do that. Maybe their business is very visual, and they just want to have nice pictures, have a simple, clean offer. Then they may not need a blog. So it's really up to you, up to your business. It's not. I was actually just talking to someone the other day. They had a blog, but they hadn't used it, unfortunately, in over a year. So they just decided when we were building the new website, they were just going to focus. They were going to let that go and just focus on other content. So while I do generally recommend it, if you're not going to use it or it's not part of your other marketing you're doing, then it's not something that you have to have. It's just another opportunity to connect with people. another opportunity to reach people in Google. You do get some search engine value out of it. So obviously, if I didn't have this content, it probably would be impossible for me to appear in Google for these search terms. But really, it's about what's important for your business. Jumping back, another question I get sometimes is, do I need a website if I have a Facebook page? So yeah, I definitely recommend obviously using Facebook. It's a very valuable tool. I do know people that have, I've heard of people that have, or know people personally that they built businesses that were doing tens of thousands of dollars before they had a website. But they were good at connecting in other ways, or maybe good at doing public speaking, doing live events, getting the word out through other channels, and they were able to grow their business without even having a website. I wouldn't really recommend that, obviously, because there's still a lot of opportunities with your website, and you can do quite a bit. You have just way more ways to connect with people and reach people with the site. But if you're getting started, certainly have a Facebook page. One other drawback to Facebook in terms of the marketing perspective is a website is an asset that you control, that you own, whereas your Facebook page, you don't really own. Facebook owns it. They can change the rules at any time. They may say, oh, we only want to show this post or not this post, and then it's not something you have control over. And in business, you want to have assets that you have ownership of. Also, if you're ever looking to sell your business, obviously a website is a super valuable asset. So yeah, I definitely would recommend it, but certainly don't forget Facebook. And it's okay to start with that one, but I would definitely have it as part of your one of the key pieces of your marketing plan. Another question, maybe, how do you choose a web design agency? So first off, I would recommend, if you're doing a website redesign project or starting out, I would so if you're really on a shoestring, I would say start with a website builder program. The one thing I would avoid is some people say, oh, I want to build this website, I can do this, and they spend weeks doing it, and they may become very frustrated, lose a ton of opportunity, lose a ton of time that they could have used to be improving their service, helping clients. Instead, they're mired in this website project. So that's why I would recommend, even depending on where you're at, is always use someone that is an expert in that area and can help you. And then some of the questions you might want to ask or be focused on is, do they develop conversion focused websites? Are they a good fit for us in terms of their style, their portfolio, their work, and that you're confident they can put together a good product for you, and you have a good relationship and good communication with them. They have a good turnaround time, and obviously the budget is in line. And then also, what's their process? Like, how do they work with you? One thing I've been working on improving is, managing projects better. So I've been using a project management tool. So I find that really valuable, because in that way, if people are, want to send new pictures, or instead of just all these emails going back and forth, we have a central hub to manage the project. So that can be useful, obviously, no matter what type of project you're doing. But obviously for a website project, there's a lot of materials we need, a lot of assets. So being able to communicate and access all those things in one place, I find really valuable. Kind of the last thing I had, and I apologize, this is a little bit crooked, but it's also good to have kind of a checklist and maybe do an assessment of where you're at currently. Maybe you don't need to you're not thinking of a website redesign right now, or building a website right now, but you want to have a checklist of things, of kind of where you're at, things you need, things you want to be clear on, and kind of how it fits with your overall marketing plan. So obviously some things you absolutely need, a clear targeted purpose for your website. So you may want to do some type of rating, scoring, get feedback from team members, and kind of maybe assess where you're at, what opportunities there are to improve, what you're doing well. I think that can be really useful, especially if you're, something you want to focus on for 2019, or just kind of do a year-end assessment of where you're at and what can be better. So another thing would be, focus on keeping it in line with your branding. So kind of talked about the logo, things like that. And just your voice, the messaging, all those things are connected to the experience the customers have. Obviously, getting your domain name right, getting the hosting that you need, the security you need. I didn't put that on there, but this is a good starting point. I can put together something a little bit more complete, a little bit better, but hopefully this helps you kind of just think about doing a checklist of what do you want to work on, what do you want to improve, and what would be helpful for to make things better. Obviously, having good pictures, current pictures, keeping things up to date are all really important. And then having good, solid ways you can help people on your website. So here it's down as professional advice, but obviously having that voice, being able to help people with their problems. So that really concludes my presentation, Tracy. I do want to leave some time for questions. I do have my information here for people if they want to get in touch with me. I am on LinkedIn, Facebook, or you can just go to my website and schedule a time if you'd like just a free review, a free consultation. Those are all things we offer. But yeah, I'll turn it over to you if you'd like to get questions, and I'll have to pull up the chat here. People can chime in there as well.
Sure. Thank you so much, Jason. Oh, it looks like we already got a question. So I don't know if you can read Dawn's question, or if you'd like me to read it to you.
Yeah, go ahead and read it out. I'll pull it out here.
I use Shopify as a platform and have a great website. I do have people visit my website often, but no purchases yet. What suggestions do you have for making people feel like they can take that purchase plunge? My website loads quickly and is user-friendly. I'm also linked with Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest.
Okay, that's a really good question. So I think that where I would go with that is developing, and this goes back to something I talked about early on, is I actually would start, if I was focusing my marketing, obviously if you're just starting from scratch, you don't have a whole lot to work with. But where I start with, if I was developing a marketing system today, is how can I make it easier for my current customers to buy more from me? Because it's a lot easier to work with your current customers than to try to get new customers. It's way cheaper. They already know you. Hopefully they already like you. They've already had an experience with you. I'd rather work with them and provide them more services, better services, than always be hunting for new customers. It also makes it easier if you ever do start, doing more advertising, marketing. You've got systems in place to capture people in a better way, and then get those people to spend more, buy more, refer more. So that's why I recommend having a marketing system. And what that means, when I say that, is using, how I would say it, is having an automation system in place. So you can have campaigns for different things in Shopify. So if people abandon their cart, there's a campaign for that, like where you can send really targeted specific messages like, we miss you, or come back today, we have this new offer, or here's what's new this week. So then that way they don't just forget about you. It goes back to that whole thing about people aren't always ready to buy. So that's why it's super critical to have that system in place to capture them when they're ready. So you can have everything from campaigns to, obviously, if they download a resource, if they download, depending on what action you take, you want to have a campaign for the goals in your business. So hopefully that helps clarify. That's kind of a big question, is how do I launch this store? Obviously, or in terms of getting traction and getting it up and running. I like Shopify. I think it's good. I'm a Shopify certified partner. But a lot of it's about having a marketing plan and that system in place to leverage people coming to your site. So everything from customer nurture to lead generation to specifically engineered campaigns to help people get them to the next step of their customer journey, the next step of their buying process. So that's what I would recommend. Hopefully that helps clarify that and provides you some insights in terms of how I might approach that.
I think that's a great reminder. I know for me as a consumer, I have definitely made purchases based on those emails after, like, hey, we're waiting for you, we miss you, you have something in your cart. So so that definitely works on me, and that's a great idea, Jason. I hope you can take advantage of that, Dawn.
Great. And
Any other questions, Jason? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, so I don't, for some reason I'm having an issue viewing the chat. So go ahead if there's other questions, go ahead and feed them into me, and I can assist.
Okay. We don't have any at the moment. What we just, for our organization, implemented a new system, like a merchant services to take credit card payments. And we
Hmm.
had to actually come up with our own privacy policy before they would even approve us. And
Yeah.
that was kind of interesting for us. Do you have any templates, or do you just recommend somebody Googling a template privacy policy? Because it kind of felt more sophisticated than what we what we as an organization felt like we needed, but it was required, and
Yeah,
we kind of felt fine in that.
it's definitely a balance. Privacy is becoming a bigger issue, so I would definitely recommend having it. Obviously, with all the stuff with Facebook and tracking on websites and things like that, so I would definitely recommend having it. If you're on a budget, I would definitely just recommend starting with a template and kind of fitting it to what you need or what works for what you're doing. And sometimes, obviously, you may want to bring in a lawyer to help make sure you've got all your bases covered. It can be a little bit of it. It can get kind of pricey and kind of overkill to like cover everything, but it is important and it is becoming a bigger issue. And you definitely want to limit any legal liabilities you have. So I think that any website should have a privacy policy. And yeah, there are templates out there. There's tools out there to help you build them. But that's where I would start. But I would say if it starts to get where you want to have your bases more fully covered, yeah, talk to a lawyer about that.
Great, thanks. Does anybody else have any questions for Jason? I'll send out his contact information. It was up on the screen a moment, so please feel free to reach out to him or I. Oh, great, thanks for putting that back up.
Yep.
So you can always reach out to either of us after the fact. Oh, it looks like we got another one. Deborah wants to know, in WooCommerce, can you tell us how to add keywords to pictures?
Okay, so I'll just kind of talk about WooCommerce, and if you want specific help with that, we can certainly take it offline. But WooCommerce, just so people know, is a e-commerce program, e-commerce platform that's tied into WordPress. So I talked about WordPress earlier, why I like WordPress. One of the things is you can attach a lot of things to it, and WooCommerce is one of them. It's called a plugin. So you can plug right into it, add a store to your website, or build your whole site around WooCommerce, but it's in WordPress. So in terms of how to use the features in WooCommerce, that's something, it's not really what we're talking about here today, but I'd be happy to take that offline with you. And we offer that service in terms of customizing WooCommerce, adding things to WooCommerce. So that's something we could help you with separate. But yeah, there's certainly a lot you can do with that platform. I like WooCommerce. I think it's a good platform for people that want to get started selling online.
Wonderful, thank you. So yeah, feel free to reach out to him, Deborah, for some details on that. She says it seems to be a big thing to Google to add words of keywords to the picture. I'm not sure what you mean by that question, but maybe that's a question we can chat offline about.
Yeah, so sorry, I got to pull up now. I had a lot of things going on, but yeah, so obviously Google looks at different factors when they evaluate websites. And so they're looking at your images. They obviously look through the code. They're not looking at the individual image, but there's ways to structure what you're showing on your website so Google likes it better. So that's why when she's talking about, in Google, obviously, or Google Ads, Google Shopping, you want to be able to pull in that nice picture so people are more likely to click on your ad, or so Google likes your ad better. So yeah, there's definitely a lot you can do in terms of having the right keywords and having the right pictures so that people looking for your product or service are more likely to find you, and then Google's more likely to show your ad.
Okay, thank you. Well, I don't know, Deborah. I think that question might be better clarified verbally. Keywords on the picture in the background. I'm not quite sure what you mean on that. I don't know if you can speak to that, Jason, or if that's an online offline conversation or not.
Yeah, that's, they obviously look at, if you're trying to appear for a certain search term, they do look at not only text, they look at images too. They can look at videos. So it's not, when we're talking about keywords, we're not just talking about the text on the page. They look at, they're not just showing text, obviously, in their search results, so, or in their ads. So that's why when you're talking about like SEO and ranking higher, it's not just about that keyword text. It can be about how you structure it, how you have your image tagged, how you have your video tagged. So yeah, there's certainly a lot to that, but there are definitely different ways to get into Google and to get found.
Oh, perfect. Great. Well, thank you so much. We're just about 1 o'clock here, so I'm gonna call it quits. I will be sending out the recording to everybody today. If you would like to reach out to either Jason or myself with additional questions, please feel free to do that. And join us next Wednesday for steps for starting a business. If you're in that beginner stage and you want to talk about business feasibility. And with that, thank you, Jason, for spending your Wednesday lunch hour with us.
Problem, Tracy. We had one more come in. Do we have time for that one, or?
Oh, sure.
So there was one other question here about how does one find landing page templates. So
great.
There are different programs you can use for landing pages. Some of the more popular ones that actually are pretty good are like Lead Pages, or even in the program I use, Infusionsoft, they have a landing page template program included with the software. So there are different ways to do it. Even in WordPress, there are some different options you can use. I use a program called Thrive Themes that has a landing page program that's I find to be pretty good. But what I do find is Lead Pages is pretty good in terms of being able to not having to customize a ton. But if you want something very specific, custom to your business, that's where I would recommend working with a developer and someone who can customize that. And we're pretty good at that. I've gotten a lot better over the years. But yeah, certainly there are a lot of options out there. A lot of them are a subscription model, so you have a monthly fee to use their templates. There are some free ones out there, but usually you kind of get what you pay for. But if you want a custom specific landing page, that's where you want to work with a web developer.
Great, thank you. Hopefully that answers your question, Deborah. Well, great. Well, have a good rest of your Wednesday, everybody. And I will see you guys next week.
Thanks, Tracy.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody.